President Muhammadu Buhari has presented the second budget of his administration to the National Assembly. The budget is aimed at pulling Nigeria out of recession and address key infrastructure across the country. My guest provides analysis on the workability of the proposal on this week's episode of the program. Hello there. Thank you for joining me on the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuke. 7.298 trillion naira is the proposed sum the government is looking at spending for the 2017 fiscal year. According to the President, Muhammadu Buhari, the implementation of the 2017 budget will be based on government's economic recovery and growth strategy. In our interview, we will be looking at the budget proposal. But coming up next.
It is my pleasure to present.
In a speech that lasted less than an hour, President Muhammadu Buhari explained to federal lawmakers how he plans to use the 2017 budget to pull the nation out of recession. Take a listen.
President Muhammadu Buhari presenting the second budgetary proposal of his administration to a joint session of the National Assembly. Tagged the Budget of Recovery and Growth, President Buhari presented a proposal of 7.298 trillion naira for the 2017 fiscal year, 20.4% higher than the 2016 estimates. He gives a breakdown of the projections.
The 2017 budget is based on a benchmark crude oil price of United States dollars 42.5 per barrel, an oil production estimate of 2.2 million barrels per day, and an average exchange rate of 305 naira to one United States dollars.
According to the budget proposal, recurrent expenditure is proposed at 2.98 trillion naira and 2.24 trillion naira for capital expenditure. Key capital spending provisions in the budget include the following: 529 billion naira for power, works and housing, 262 billion for transportation, 150 billion naira for special intervention programs, 140 billion naira for defense, 81 billion naira for industry, trade and investment, 50 billion naira for education, and 92 billion naira for Universal Basic Education Commission, and 51 billion naira for health.
We will increasingly grow and process our own food. We will manufacture what we can and refine our own petroleum products. We will buy made in Nigeria. We will promote the manufacturing powerhouses in Aba, Calabar, Kaduna, Kano, Lagos, Newi, Onitsha, and Ota.
As the president laid the budget before the National Assembly, there were mixed feelings among the federal lawmakers.
Key area again that I appreciated what he said was on the deficit. Has gone down. Last year it was about 3 trillion, but now it's about 2.3 trillion. So it's a gradual process. And if the domestic debtors have been taken care of, definitely again is going to enhance the living standard and economic activity.
And if we're talking about an increased budget of 7-point-something trillion as against 6 point for last year, and as against where we are coming from, 3.4 trillion, I think that it doesn't really make sense to hear that 70% of 7-point-something trillion is for recurrent.
And whereas we are looking at about 4.7 trillion from some certain sources, those sources are not really, in reality, what can really assist Nigeria in getting the appropriate funding.
I would have loved to see a situation where the National Assembly is more empowered. We need to have better capacity training, better building, better able to do our oversight without relying on the agencies and people who go to oversight. That also requires a lot of money.
Whatever opinion these federal lawmakers may be holding as regards the 2017 budget, the task Nigerians are expecting from them is to work on the budget and avoid the drama that trailed the 2016 budget.
In our interview segment, Dr. Uche Uwaleke, an associate professor at the Nasarawa State University, provides analysis of the 2017 budget as proposed by the president. Dr. Uche Uwaleke, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's begin with your analysis of the budget proposal of the federal government. Some have predicted a robust economic outlook in 2017 with drastic economic reforms in the end. Do you share that perspective?
Yes, let's even look at where we are coming from, the 2016 budget. The 2016 budget rode on assumptions that seemed unrealistic in the first place, which is why we're having this adverse budget variances, whether in terms of the oil revenue. The oil benchmark price for 2016 budget was, if you remember, $38 per barrel. Yeah. And yes, at some point, oil price went beyond $38 per barrel, but we had a challenge in the oil output. The oil output benchmark for 2016 budget was 2.2 million barrels per day. But since January, we've never gotten anywhere near there. In fact, we have not done up to 2 million barrels per day. The average we've been told is 1.6 million barrels. Although in recent times, Ibe Kachukwu talked about 1.9 million barrels. So the shortfall in output adversely affected revenue. What came into the federation account. And because of that, subnational governments, talking about state governments, had difficulties, discharging their functions, especially paying workers' salaries. So that affected aggregate demand in the economy. And we saw the result of that. Aggregate demand, of course, meant lower consumption and then output contraction. So we saw this contraction in output, for 3 consecutive quarters. The last one being 2.24%, contraction in GDP, which is why today we're in a recession. So the fact that we had those assumptions that were never met, the fact that we also had a delay in the implementation of the 2016 budget. Recall that it was not really signed until sometime in May. So the uncertainty created, especially in the first and second quarter, affected investment inflows, affected capital importation into the country. And all of that.
Not to talk of the padding issues.
Yes, the padding issue, the controversies around the 2016 budget, were things that, led to the delay, that, made it impossible for the president to have signed the appropriation bill much earlier. But in 2017 budget proposal, we are witnessing a document, in my view, that has been prepared based on more realistic assumptions. Yes, if you take the oil price benchmark, for example, 2017 budget proposal is on $42.5 per barrel. And if we go by forecasts by international reputable bodies on energy, such as the Energy Information Administration of the US, that talked about an average price of $52 per barrel for 2017. If we use that and use even the fact that OPEC countries have met and agreed to production cuts, even with non-OPEC countries, and given the fact that as we speak, oil prices are hovering around $58 per barrel, so you can say that $42.5 per barrel is a conservative figure, is a realistic figure. Now, output has also been based on 2.2 million barrels per day. And listening to the president,